Hello, everybody. Today is not only a great day, it's one of my most favorite days in the world. My name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group, and I have the honor today to be walking into the bar with two of my best compadres. Have you ever had that uncle, like over Christmas, when he started telling a story and he said, three guys walk into a bar and everybody in the room just cringes? That's us, except we're talking energy. So first around the corner, we have David Blackmon. David Blackmon is a Forbes contributing author. He is the president and CEO of the DB Energy Corporation, and he's got his podcast, which is The Energy Question, and he's also on the Energy Transition International version. So welcome, David. Thank you very much.
Hey, man, happy to be here. It's going to be a fun day.
Oh, absolutely. And RT, you're coming around the corner here. RT is one of the big dogs in the EMP space with Pecos Country Operating. And he's also the podcast host of the Crude Truth. And RT, you look fabulous today. What's your story?
Man, I wish I could say I wish I could tell you the secret. I feel like, having a 1-year-old that is up all night, maybe that's how this gets to be, And, we just got back. We had a nice little weekend getaway, me and the family, and after all the holiday season, you kind of like, okay, we need a break, and so me and the wife and the 1-year-old went down to good old San Antone for the weekend, and
awesome.
Went over, did the river walk, kind of did the touristy stuff a little bit this weekend.
Well, we got some action-packed topics for us today. And we've got David, your energy absurdity of the day is addicting. Everybody I talk to is like, hey, do you know David Blackmon? He's got the energy absurdity of the day. And my goal, I've been on your energy absurdity of the day one time. Now my goal is to be on there, every 4 or 5 days. And so you've got a great topic. We're going to cover that one. We're also going to cover RT. You've got a fantastic topic with the jobs, what that means to the EMP and everything else. And then I've got one that I want to cover, and I want to see if you can guys guess who I am right here. Okay. Okay.
You look a lot like Elizabeth Warren, I got to say.
Okay.
It looks a lot like Elizabeth Warren, yes, but okay. I'll go with I was going to say it's going to go one of two ways, and I'll keep it PG. And you look like Elizabeth
for our listeners on the podcast, I've got a black hooded sweatshirt on, and I got my Granholms. So if I look a little bit like Fetterman and Granholm, that's my Fettergrahm. Anyway, okay. This is why I'm bringing that up. I'll tell you, he's an interesting kind of cat. Somebody has said a few things like, what is it, Uncle Fester? Okay, enough of that, but let's get back to Granholm.
Yeah.
They snuck out an article of an apology over the weekend on Friday afternoon. And David, I think you called it a Friday afternoon
document dump.
Yeah.
Standard DC document dump.
There you go. One of the things that it irritated me to death that they quietly admitted that they pooped on the rug on canceling the XT. And some of the numbers in that article are just horrible. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they killed a lot of jobs when they canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. 10,000 workers were already employed on that project when Mr. Biden killed it with a stroke of a pen halfway through its construction. And, and canceled billions of dollars of economic impact for the United States and billions more for the province of Alberta in Canada, where the oil is being produced. And, I'm glad they finally admitted it. What was it, 24 months after it happened and over a year after they were required by law to issue that report, they finally got it out. So good for them.
I'm surprised they obeyed the law. RT, what are your thoughts, dude?
First of all, I think you're giving them credit for calling it an apology for canceling the Keystone pipeline. I didn't see anywhere in there that it's an apology from this administration for killing any American jobs, which is what he's done by the stroke of a pen since day one. The stroke of the pen these days is really a whole other topic I think we could discuss, with the fact that I think since President Bush Jr., that the executive orders have only gone up and tripled every single president since him. And yes,
Right.
even the Trumper did.
Mhm.
I think he even did more than President Obama, and I think Biden's on his way to even do more than President Trump.
He's already
Um,
done more than Trump.
He's already
Biden,
done more than Trump.
I think Biden has done more than any other president in the United States combined. I could be wrong.
That may be true. I haven't seen that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
No, I
Yeah.
think it's despicable.
But no, I don't think it's a good thing to answer the question. I mean, by the stroke of the pen, we lost 10,000 current jobs. Let's talk about that. On January 20th, 2023, 21, we lost 10,000 paying jobs already. And based on this report, there's somewhere between another 15,000 to 60. So let's just cut in the middle. We lost another 30,000 jobs. So we lost 40,000 good paying American jobs that this president campaigned on from day one. And so I just think it's an abomination that the fact that this man has not been to do any, like, how many good jobs have we got? What's so funny? What?
I love the way
Abomination word?
Yeah, abomination. I was thinking of abominable snowman or something. You did great with that word, Archie. Wow.
It's a key point to point out that those 10,000 jobs that were already employed on the Keystone XL project were all union jobs, which, Biden claims to be the union president, and not a single major union spoke out against that executive order when it was executed. So that tells you how in the pocket the unions are with the Democratic Party. It's just, you talk about an abomination. There you go.
Yeah,
I did not even know that.
I think unions have their place, and I think they've saved hundreds of thousands of lives by initiating a 40-hour work week, good working conditions. However,
Sure.
in this standpoint, I don't know how a union could sit there and say that they did something good for their employees. That I have a hard time. Like, how is this good for their employees? So,
I do want to give a shout out to the unions for one thing. Why in the world do we have the lowest bidder build our nuclear reactors? Why don't we have them controlled by the unions, as long as the unions are audited to make sure that they're spending the money wisely? Sorry.
That's a good point. That reminds me of lowest bidder. That reminds me of the movie, what is it, Armageddon, where the Russians on the space station and they're about to blow up, and it's like, it doesn't matter if it's Russian or American, it's all built by the lowest bidder in China or Japan. It's all built in the same place.
That is one of my most favorite movies ever made. I that Russian that played it is he's a hoot.
He is a fun guy. He's done some good movies, like he did Bad Boys 2. Anyway, yeah, he's played a rough Russian in every. Oh, and he did John Wick. I don't know if y'all watched any of those John Wick movies or not.
He was in Stranger Things too, playing a Russian.
He was in Stranger Things?
Yeah. He was the main Russian character in the Gulag, and was in the final season in every episode.
That's right. He was.
I can't remember the actor's name, but he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I loved him in John Wick. I'm a John Wick kind of fan. We all
John
need
Wick should be that new one's coming out. I wonder how many of our listeners, our watchers, viewers, are excited about that new John Wick Keanu Reeves movie coming out, John Wick 4.
Well, I know they called me. I don't know if they called you guys to be Keanu Reeves stuntman. Yeah, I look just like him. So,
Well, you're about the same age, I think.
Oh, no. Oh, that I'll pay you later there, dude. Okay, so enough of the pseudo Granholm effect this week. And so let's just throw up on that one. David, let's come around the corner and we'll finish up with RT's story. But on your absurdity of the day, your Twitter feed, your Substack, and everything else is a real treat for RT and I to be able to go out there and steal your material. I mean,
It's good. It's good.
It is good stuff. Highly recommended. What are your thoughts on this energy absurdity today that I got so tickled about?
Well, it was based on a Wall Street Journal story that was published a week ago, actually. It just took me, there's so many absurdities every day. It took me a week to get to this one, but it's really a good one. It has to do with a terrific story. It's probably 5,000 words long. It's a long story about the impacts of the massive build out of wind power in Spain, a focus on Spain and a small town called Foz, which is being surrounded now by massive wind farms that are supposedly going to supply all the electricity needed to electrify an Alcoa aluminum smelting facility that's right outside the city. And so this smelting facility occupies about 10 to 15 acres of land, but the wind farm is literally going to surround the city, and the citizens are opposing it because it's going to have these massive impacts on their lives. But the key point about this is that the Alcoa factory currently, it consumes 400 megawatts of electricity every day. And that electricity is currently generated by a combination of nuclear and coal. And it runs 24 hours. So, it has to be 24-hour electricity supply, 400 megawatts. So in order for wind power, which is the goal of the climate-focused public officials who are forcing this on this little town, to reliably generate 400 megawatts of energy, you have to build 2 gigawatts of electricity generating capacity powered by wind, 5 times the amount of electricity actually required. So my point was, think about this. This is what they're trying to do all over the world. And I'm not against wind power, not against renewables at all. But you are having to build 5 times the generating capacity to reliably do something like this. And that's an incredible waste of resources that are already precious on the earth. And the wind industry, people don't want to talk about it, but renewable energy and electric vehicles have massive mineral resource requirements that they have to build their turbines, to build their concrete pads, to build the battery backup systems. And if you're having to build 5 times the amount of capacity in order to keep a plant running for 24 hours, you're wasting an amazing amount of resources. And then there's, of course, the land use, which is many multiples of the footprint of the Alcoa factory itself, or the coal plant that's currently providing the electricity. And you can see how wasteful this really is. Wind and solar are fine sources of energy that have their place in an integrated grid, but this is not it. And we need to stop doing stupid things like this.
RT, what do you got?
Hey, no, I mean, wind is great if you're on the high school or the Harvard sail team. I mean, the sailing team. That's my first reaction right there. But no, for real, I do agree with David on the sense that I'm not against any other form of energy. But when we have to do this in a way that I can only vision now what we see out there in Levelland area, in West Texas area, where you see just these acres of wind farms being developed, and they are surrounding certain cities, and that is not something that everybody wants. And when you surround the city and it doesn't even provide all the power needed for the city, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I agree with David all the way on this. I'm trying to think of a way to make it a fun episode here to kind of disagree with him on, but no. Why do we need? And David, thanks for pointing out for our listeners. It's like it's 5 times the amount. A megawatt versus a gigawatt. Because some people don't know what the difference is between a megawatt and a gigawatt, a kilowatt and a watt, whatever. So why is it that you need the 5 times the amount? It's so that you can hopefully have that 400 megawatts
Right.
all the time.
Oh, and one little factoid here: 2 gigawatts of electric generating capacity is enough to power 1.5 million homes. A large city. That's how much electricity capacity you're building to electrify a single Alcoa smelter. It's unbelievable.
Let me ask this because I need to go check. I have never heard of an electric smelter. Those smelters are so huge. They're using coking coal for steel plants and everything else. It's not coal being used for the generation. It still takes a lot to run those machinery, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the smelters require coking coal, which is the only thing on the planet that can turn metals into molten so it can be shaped. My understanding, I could be wrong because I steal my material, but on the other hand, I don't know of any others in the world. So that's like an electric pot. You go over to your electric pot on your stuff, the electric skillet. It doesn't work at all. I mean, you could put your face on those things half the time and it still doesn't cook a pancake or something. How in the world is an electric smelter going to work?
Right. And our friend Irina Slav wrote a great story relevant to all this on her Substack last week that everyone should go find and read. It's really terrific.
She's funny. I absolutely steal her stuff too. So now, RT, you were also talking about jobs as it relates to some other things. We talked a little bit about how jobs were impacted on the abomination or the abominable snowman of Biden. What were the other topics you had?
Well, what I wanted to really talk about real quick is, first of all, how can this president be pro-United States when he's cutting jobs? And again, I'm more worried about the 10,000 existing jobs that were already in place, let alone the futuristic 30 to 60,000 jobs that the article talks about. And I think it also gives way on why organizations and we talked about unions, on why unions and organizations are so important. And, one that really comes to mind is the Oil and Gas Workers Association. They're actually here in Texas as their main office, but they are in California, Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Dakota. You kind of see a trend going on. And they are part of a group that actually has not legislation, but what do you call those guys that go talk to
regulators?
Yeah, you used to be one. What is it? The guys that I don't know. What do they call
lobbyists?
Lobbyists. Yeah, not legislators.
Oh my gosh, RT, you're about as painful as
evil
my
lobbyists.
Wow.
That was like talking to my ex-wife.
Excuse me.
Smokes.
Wow. Excuse me. Lobbyists.
Okay, we're gonna call you Biden. Okay.
No, whoa.
Man.
No. My earlobes are good. My earlobes are good. No. My earlobes never change. My earlobes never change. No, but yeah. So the Oil and Gas Workers Association works with hiring lobbyists that go into all these different states to fight for our jobs in the oil and gas industry. And that's what I want to get a point across. Let me get in there and say that those groups are important. And unions should be doing the same darn thing. And if they're not, then they are not looking out for the American worker. So shout out to the Oil and Gas Workers Association for actually looking out for the American workers. And I think their president is Matt Cody is his name.
I
So
believe
shout
you
out
just
to
had
him
an
as well.
interview with him, if I don't want to give an inside baseball.
Oh, I did. I did just do that. And so by David talking about that on Friday with this apology that they made, that, and for our listeners, I use quotations when I say the word apology, that it really timed it perfectly. So I'm excited to get that one out, on that episode of the Crude Truth. But no, we need these type of groups that are going to sit there and fight for the oil and gas workers. And, I do my part at Pecos Country Operating. We hire local, and we hire experience, and we hire, and we hire also that can-do attitude, because you don't need the experience if you have the ability to learn and show up on time and give it your best. And stay safe. You got that. That's the other one. You got to be safe.
Yeah.
You got to stay safe.
I always didn't like this. The
I
safety
can't
guy.
have nobody slinging chain on a drilling rig that doesn't know how to sling chain. I can tell you that.
Yeah, the safety guy at the tailgate meeting is just not necessarily a wanted kind of guy.
Oh man,
I mean,
but they are needed, and I remember, I remember the first time I slung chain. I mean, it was a big day because you almost are there practicing for weeks on end. At least I did. I know that because it's no joke when you're on a drilling rig. All lives are important.
Yeah.
And you want everybody to go home at the end of their shift. And so anyway, but yeah, so that's why I think it's getting back to it. No, it's just a darn shame that this president killed those jobs and killed all those future jobs, while I'm not seeing any new jobs being created on the mass level on these wind and solar plants. I'm not hearing about major hiring. David, are you hearing anything about that in any of your circles?
No, there's jobs being created. I don't know why they don't talk about it, but they really don't talk about it a lot. It's not as many jobs as advertised, and I suspect that's the reason they really don't emphasize it.
That's what I'm saying.
But there are jobs being created, and all these billions of dollars in new subsidies and tax incentives is going to create a lot of new projects with a lot of jobs related to them. And so I mean, it's going to be a real growth industry. There's no doubt about it in the United States over the next decade because of these two big bills that were passed in the last Congress. And we'll see if grid managers can manage it all.
Oh, speaking of passing, I think if I'm correct, and I think I'm pretty proud of those 20 congressmen that stood up to the voting here over the weekend. I was pretty kind of side note. I was pretty embarrassed as a Republican voter the last few years that my constituents, my guys there have been saying, give us the House for 2 years and we can make the changes. And next thing you know, they're fighting. It's like, guys, y'all should have had all this planned out. That was my first initial reaction as a outsider looking in. But as I began to understand that, Nancy Pelosi has built one heck of a machine out of the Congress.
Yeah.
And that these 20 people, 20 congressmen, 3 of them are from Texas. I wish I had their names. In fact, maybe if we talk about it here.
Chip Roy was one of them.
Who? What?
Chip Roy was one of them.
Chip Roy was one of them. Jeff's, I don't know. I'll look him up maybe here in a second if we got a sec. But that they fought against several of those things that Pelosi had put in place. And one of them is that and this is what I heard, so correct me if you're wrong, and our listeners and viewers, please correct me if I'm wrong, that only a certain amount of congressmen and women could actually bring a bill to be passed. And that was something Pelosi had put in place, or somebody prior had put in place. So to where all these newbies that have been getting elected can't do anything. They're just these newbies that sit there and have to play the game. And that's something I think Matt Gaetz and Chip Roy and all them really fought, is like, hey, we're not going to have the same same type of a deal that we had with Nancy Pelosi. If you're going to come in and be a person of the people, then you need to let the people that were elected by the people in their states and areas actually go and represent them. So I think that's correct.
Did you sleep on Albert Einstein's book of the theory of relativity? Because that's about the most brilliant thing I've ever heard from you. That was out of the frigging park, dead on right, RT. The thing that Matt Gaetz and all of them, the number one thing that they went after was changing the rules that Nancy Pelosi stuffed in. You articulated that great. You did a good job, and I'm sorry for complimenting you, RT, but out of the park, crazy good. And that's all they were trying to do. They weren't asking for extra power or anything else. And our Republican leadership took offense. In fact, what was that guy that tried to put that headlock on somebody that he was?
God, I'm gonna forget his name now.
That was entertainment. That looks like a Chevy Chase choking hold out of Caddyshack. I mean, it was wonderful. I should have done that, but RT, well done.
Here they are. It's Michael Cloud out of the Texas 27th district, Chip Roy out of the Texas 21st district, and Keith Self out of the Texas 3rd district.
Right. Yeah. Michael Cloud's from Victoria. He's a great guy. Okay. He's the fella who has been, he's the chief advocate for the Port of Corpus Christi in Congress, and he does a great job. His district runs down into Corpus Christi, and he has the port in his district. He does great work on behalf of the port.
I think we all had a light bulb go off.
Oh, yeah. I need to get him and Sean on my podcast. So,
but, I Googled it just now so that you guys, if I'm looking away from the camera, and when I Googled it, the first one that came up was how far right are the 20 Republicans? And there's nothing that was far right about what we just talked about. That sounds more like it's something on the fairway of fair and balanced government, which is what we talk about all the time. Is like that's where we need to be at, where we can actually have the discussions. And so, I don't know any of those people personally or any of their true politics, but I just wanted to kind of bring that up because it was hilarious. I mean, watching CNN drool and MSNBC just drooling and salivating over the fact that the Republican Party was in a disarray. And
it wasn't disarray. Yeah, it was all ridiculous coverage.
It was good.
I know. Well, they made it look like it was. But they were just solid. like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing since you would have thought it was sweet for them.
It's just politics. Politics can be messy sometimes, but you're right. They had a legitimate grievance and legitimate goals, and they got them done. And eventually got a speaker elected, and it only took 3 days. So not a big deal.
Great. I think it's great.
And I will say this, as a Texan in the middle of the country, I do find it bothered. I am bothered by the fact that the majority leader of the Republican Party is from California, and the minority leader of the Democrat Party is from New York. Once again, here we are, guys, that I really feel like America will not be represented during this time. At least, the Senate guy, Mitch McConnell's from Kentucky. They have real problems in Kentucky. Well, hell, New York and California have real problems right now, but they don't want to fix those. But the rest of America,
I'm going to offend half of our listeners, and Mitch McConnell is not of this country. So
I'm just saying, at least he's from Kentucky, where I believe in the individuals in Kentucky.
I'm just saying
Kentucky's part of America, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nope. He was actually more. Kentucky is, but they elected that knucklehead, and that knucklehead has more in common with China because they're paying more of his bills than anything else. His father-in-law donated a bunch of money, and that's how he's been elected all these years. And his father-in-law is from China. Thank you very much.
What? Okay. All right. Well,
Well, he's married to Kathleen Chow, something Chow, who was the transportation secretary under both President Bush and President Trump, and Elaine Chow, excuse me. Mitch McConnell is the longest serving now majority leader of either party in the Senate. And I seldom agree with him on political matters. But the thing about Mitch is that there's never been anyone in leadership who has a better grasp of Senate rules and knows how to manipulate them in favor of his party than Mitch McConnell.
But we'll leave all this alone here for a sec, because I got my own personal opinions on
all I was trying to say, guys, is at least Mitch McConnell's from Kentucky, and Kentucky is part of America, where California and New York, sometimes I don't think they want to be part of America. Okay?
I would agree with that.
That's something I think people need to keep on the radar for the next 2 years.
Yeah, it's the two most dysfunctional states in the country. Thank you.
That's where I'm trying to go with.
Yeah.
But DC is at the corner of dis and function. Okay. RT, what are your last thoughts as we close up here?
Oh man, I tell you what, just thank you for the opportunity. I'm enjoying the. Thank you to our listeners who listen to three podcasters walk into a bar. We want to make this a fun show, and I think we're definitely doing that. I know the Crude Truth and Energy Transition and the Energy Question and the Energy News Beat podcast. We really try to ask some hard questions, and that the Energy News Beat daily show I think teeters the line between the two, and I like to think that we're just a show of having a good time. So as you can tell, I threw in a curveball there about the politics. That was something we didn't discuss in our pre-show. Our what is production meeting. But I think that's what it's about for us. So anyway, ending my rant. Thank you so much to all our listeners and our viewers, and we just want to have a good time on our show here, and that's what it's about.
And David, what are your last thoughts other than energy absurdity of the day?
Oh, my last thought is the Texas legislative session kicks off this week, and everybody better get in line and get ready for a fun session. They're going to have about a $30 billion budget surplus to work with, and going to be a lot of money spending happening in Austin.
I'll tell you what, guys, we had a great time. I'd like to let everybody know on our podcast that I've got the Elizabeth Warren, Granholm, and Fetterman. I don't even know how to pronounce that joke. But with that, we are going to cut out of here, and we're going to have an absolute great week. We will see you guys next Monday when we record. We're going to try to have these out every week. So thank you all. And ask questions. Go to the Energy dbenergy.live for David Blackmon. There is a form there for questions. Go to the Energy Crude, whatever you.
The Crude Truth.
The Crude Truth.
thecrudetruth.com, and also the Energy Newsbeat. You can send it to questions@energynewsbeat.com, and we will answer all of your questions. So thank you very much. Talk to you all soon.